Hi, I'm Tim. Join with me as we build and test fly the MinimumRC F-86 electric ducted fan model. Let's get to it. This is a view of the MinimumRC F-86. So a nice little microjet coming in about 1.7 ounces, and we'll go through in the video how to make this, how you can make this on your own. The F-86, of course, was a famous U.S. fighter aircraft flown by many allied nations, a mainstay of our fighter fleet in the Korean War, 1951 to 1953. MinimumRC makes advanced kits. You can see they've got this process to use very lightweight foam. All your coloring is printed on the foam. Makes for a very good-looking model. The website is very nice, and you will take a look at the F-86. You can see the price there is really quite reasonable. They have a lot of packages that include the electronics, chargers, batteries, transmitters. If you have your own transmitter, all in all, very complete. But this is super important. These are the instructions. These are the building instructions that you absolutely have to know and follow to the letter to successfully build your RC kit. You do not get a second chance. One of these lightweight foam parts are glued in and you make a mistake. I received my F-86 Saber from the folks at MinimumRC today, so I was very happy to see that. Thank you to MinimumRC. Let's do an unboxing. I'll show you how to read the all-important instructions online, and then we'll go ahead and build a model. So this is everything that comes in the package. A few separate boxes here. A very nice canopy for the F-86. And in here are the printed plastic parts that are part of the internal ducting for the electric ducted fan jet. Extremely lightweight. The entire model is 1.7 ounces. That's an extremely lightweight model for a flight weight for a 3-channel electric ducted fan. So these are the things that go inside to it. This is the box itself. It comes with 2 sets of glue, one that is foam safe, the other for the clear plastic canopy, a little knife blade. So that's right here. These are some components, very nice laser cut plywood that's all part of the design of the fuselage, push rods, the electric ducted fan, the motor itself, some other plywood. There's a lot of small parts on this kit. I learned that from building the BAE Hawk. So what I'm going to do is keep them sealed until I need the parts. Really keep track of them. If you just let them be scattered on your building desk, you may lose some of them. So I'll put that here. This is one of, these are the 2 servos that come in little tiny servos, the control arm screws, so everything's fine there. This is the 3-channel receiver for servos, for the elevator and aileron servos, electronic speed control. That's the whole thing right there. And this is the battery, 260 milliamp battery. And this is the kit itself. This is a laser cut foam stand for the model. You can see just how lightweight everything is. This is going to be the wing. And they do a very interesting job of printing the paint scheme onto the foam, both sides. So you don't have to apply any decals or do anything for the main wings, the main body. And then there's reinforcing rods for the spars and so forth as part of the build process. So again, be very careful with this because it tears easily. And here's a fuselage side. It's the Royal Canadian Air Force Golden Hawks demonstration team. And then finally, as you build it, there will be some white foam sections. This, you just pull it off, stick it on. You can get the canopy, the sides. It's all in directions how all that goes together. So that's the entire kit right there. The other thing I want to point out to you that's super important is the directions are online at the MinimumRC website. I showed you earlier how to get there. You've got to follow these directions step by step. So this model has about 61 steps, and I just keep an iPad next to me, and here all the instructions are right here with the type of glue to use, things like that. It starts off with a display stand, the nose. It just takes you step by step with very good photo illustrations, color. You see servos, this one's top side up, upside down. You've got to follow these super carefully because, for example, in the nose, it's very easy to put the nose on backwards, upside down. Just triple check everything before you glue it into place, but everything's in there, and that's what you need to build it. So the next step is to build the model. I'll take you step by step how we do that. These are the foam parts just right out of the box for the kit. This are stick-on decals for coloring. You have the receiver, electronic speed control, the in-flight battery. You see the little antenna on that and the connection to the battery. Some very nice laser-cut plywood parts, the plastic printed parts for the interior of the airplane, the duct, just about everything you need. The parts are small, so just when you put them on your building board, don't move them around. You're going to lose something. Again, the all-important building instructions. I have an iPad, and I just call it up on there so I can go step by step. So the first thing is you put 3 of these parts together, the very lightweight plastic parts to build the nose intake. We're just trial fitting them first, and then we very carefully glue them in place once we're sure how they go together. But a very presentable F-86 nose you can see being developed. Once the nose is done, we can take a look at the parts all glued together. Again, a super lightweight structure. You can see the tray where the battery will go, and that is the nose of the aircraft. Taking a look at some of the control horns, note that they have bolts to screw the servo to the wood. I replace them with pointed wood screws. I think that goes in a lot better. I just have a lot of screws. But if you have the bolts, you're going to have to pre-drill a hole to put those in. I think the screws are a lot easier. Again, going back to the all-important directions, because you can install parts backwards or upside down on the nose section, so study it very carefully. Here is the nose with 2 of the servos in place. Per the directions, everything lines up here to properly fit in the model when it comes time to attach the control surfaces. This is the F-86 on my transmitter. It's bonded to the receiver. I like to test things at early stages to make sure that everything works before it gets buried inside the fuselage. You don't have a lot of access inside the fuselage once everything is assembled, so it's a good idea to check things down to make sure things are working properly. And this will be the aileron servo underneath. We can see the center section with the locator spars for the wing slots right into place, and that will help with the alignment of the wing. See the 2 servos inside. These are the 2 shrouds for the electric motor. They're glued together. You can see the mounting for the tail fins there as well, and the motor friction fits inside that little ring there, and a wood post to keep the vertical fin and rudder in place. So I'd like to update you with what I've done today. As I mentioned, the instructions are very good, but you have got to just take an extra second to study the pictures, because of this very lightweight plastic, once you glue it in place, there's no second chance. It's very thin, and once it's together, you can't remove it or cut it out. You just be absolutely certain of what you're doing when you put things in. And you can see this is the nose of the F-86. This will be the intake. The 2 servos right here, as per the instructions, the receiver. The motor plugs into this jack at the back here. Remember, if the motor runs backwards, just switch that around. In this case, black is on this side, white is on this side, and the connection for the battery. Also, here is the fan in here. You got to kind of make sure that the blades are clear of the duct, but you want them as close as possible for the ducted effect. So let's take a look. We'll just turn it on. Remember, the directions say you have to bind the transmitter to the receiver. That'll vary with your receiver. What happens with my DX6 is when you plug in the battery to the receiver, after about 10 seconds, you'll get a flashing red light. That means it's in the bind mode. And I push down the bind button to turn it on to bind it. Yours may be a little bit different. As I mentioned, because of that, we want to make sure we turn on the transmitter first, throttle down, and then we can plug in the battery. And it's a little bit hard to see, but there is the elevator right there. And here's the aileron. And looking at the motor, this is the front motor, the back. We'll apply the throttle. You can see that provides quite a bit of power, and this is the stand that I made earlier. So that's where we are. You just want to be very careful with every step. We'll continue more with the build tomorrow. Now it's time to take a look at the foam side pieces. Again, very nice printing. You don't have to do anything inside, just the MinimumRC logo. We'll go ahead and cut those out from the trees. These are the sides. They will bend around the fuselage. There are some lines that we score in the back per the directions to facilitate that. And you can see here the lines are scored just to be able to bend the fuselage sides into a circular shape onto the main crutch of the fuselage. This is the engine shroud with the wires from the motor, and you can see these alignment slots that all fit into that turbine to make sure everything's aligned and goes in properly. So there the tail section is with the motor installed, glued to the aft end of the fuselage. You can see on the nose section, these side pieces are very carefully cut and just will be glued and aligned onto the fuselage. This is the right side glued in place, and the flat pieces will be the top and the bottom to be glued in on the next step. Here the top part is glued into place. There'll be a vinyl sticker that'll colorize it towards the end. You can see the shroud is all in place there. Just again, triple check before you glue this in. You will not get a second chance. This is the bottom with the battery hatch is shown there, the wing locator spars on the side, and the interior of the fuselage. The top has been glued into place, that white foam, and here's the bottom right here. So it's coming together. Another view of the white at the top, and these are the vinyl stickers we're going to use. We just pull them off and they press contact fit onto that white foam. And here the top is in place. See the canopy, the cockpit area is shown, and the same for the bottom. Very, very presentable model from those vinyl stickers. No painting of any sort or applying decals is required. The tail fin is put into place here. Again, 3 channels, so the rudder does not move. These are the right stabilizer and elevator is in place. They're already hinged. You score that. So, and notice the angle of the stab. That is just part of the F-86, and you just mount it to that alignment post, and everything works out fine. Both of the stabilizer sides are put in place. Now time to take a look at the wings. We score per the directions. That will be where the wing will bend a little bit to have essentially a dihedral airfoil shape, not a dihedral, an airfoil shape for the wing. And that all works with the alignment of the tabs as you glue it to the side, fuselage side. So one wing has been put into place. Again, the tabs make it very easy to line up, and it mounts just onto that little plastic spar you see there to keep the dihedral correct and the alignment the way it should be. We now have the second wing in place. And again, you see those plastic alignment spars. It keeps everything nice and square. These are the control horns, very nice, these lightweight horns. One important point I want to point out that you may run into, depending what your transmitter is, with the Hawk and on this one, the motor did not work when the transmitter was binded to the receiver. It didn't respond. I wasn't sure if the motor was bad or whatever. I wrote an email to the support section of MinimumRC. They got back to me immediately, and they said, what you have to do on your low throttle endpoint, instead of 0, it has to go down to -20. So let me show you how to do that, and everything worked fine. So turn on the transmitter. This is obviously a Spectrum DX6, and this is my F-86. What we do with the DX6, we go to the servo setup, and you'll see that on the travel, it comes up first. The throttle right here, THR, the top is 100, the bottom is -121. That's what I had to dial in. So if for whatever reason your electric motor doesn't respond to the throttle, minus 121 is somehow tied into the electronic speed control. It needs to see that for a safety feature of some sort to do the motor. It worked fine after I did that, just an FYI. Very good progress on the F-86 today. Here it is so far. Just everything's going along fine. Tremendous learning curve from the Hawk, just how to use the glue and the sides and think ahead if everything goes together. But it's a nice setup. As you saw in the build, the motor section is back here, and then the framework for the fuselage and electronics is here. The fuselage, as you build the foam and glue it together, makes a surprisingly rigid structure to hold the power module in place for a lightweight model like this. So I'm very happy with everything so far. A few things I want to point out is these openings right here will be for the control rods for the tail controls that go to the elevator and the ailerons. I'll put those in tomorrow. Notice also these are the ailerons. Even though they look like where flaps should be on the inboard ones, it's so you can connect to the servo through the opening here. It'll work just fine for this model. Plenty of length for that. This is an air intake for the motor, so that'll remain open. You'll see an opening here that I'll cut out tomorrow. That's necessary to access the servos to put in the elevator control. So that's all thought out in the build process, and everything's fine there. It is a 3-channel design. There is no rudder on this. You don't need any rudder. So everything went together pretty well. The stickers came on nicely. The canopy looks good. So all we really have to do is connect up the servos to the elevators and ailerons, make sure it balances out. There's one odd thing, because the nose is a little bit short, MinimumRC has included these 2 metal weights that go in the nose to make sure it balances out. We'll be sure to verify that tomorrow. So we're just about done, very close, and I should finish it up tomorrow, and we'll have the final video before we take it out to the field. A little bit of a tricky phase adding the control rod linkages. Just they're small parts, keep in one place, follow the instructions. This is one end of the aileron control rods, and you can see how the other one, it fits onto the control arm of the servo, then to the aileron. That little U is an adjustment for a proper throw of the aileron. We've completed construction of the MinimumRC F-86, and it came out pretty nice. Every time you build one of these kits, you learn a little bit more. I'll go through some of that here. So everything went together pretty well. You can see the aileron servo here to control the ailerons. As I mentioned, the ailerons are where the flaps are, but that'll be fine. Good large ailerons. And then the elevators are back here. But other than that, everything went pretty good. It's a good looking model. I'm going to keep this open just to allow a little bit of airflow, maybe to help with the motor. This is an air intake here. Another thing I want to point out, these are the carbon rod reinforcement for the wing that I've glued into the bend in the center section. You need that for the strength of the wing. And what I'll do now is I will plug it in, and we'll see how the controls work. There's a battery right here. I'll just keep it outside. As always, turn on the transmitter before you plug in the airplane so it doesn't go into the bind mode. So this is up elevator, down elevator, and aileron. Of course, no rudder, 3-channel model. And finally, for the engine. So we'll find out how that works with the extra weight. Just waiting for a good day at the RC field, and we'll take it for test flight. So out the field today, pretty nice day. We'll give a test flight for the MinimumRC F-86. As it's on the shop, everything's okay. So we've got the weight of the nose to balance it out. We'll go ahead and plug it in, do a control check, and then see if we can take it for a flight. Okay. So here we go, a good hand launch. The jet has power and we're up and away. The jet flew well. It had plenty of power. You can see the altitude here. It zipped along. It is not a trainer by any stretch, but it's not a hard airplane to fly. It's a very honest flyer. I felt like I was in complete control. The control throw amount of 3 millimeters for the ailerons and elevator is just about right. Just a very comfortable jet. Had fun flying it, and just a lot of fun.
Well, F-86 flew. I was very happy. It was pretty easy to fly, very easy to fly. It was responsive, did exactly what I want. The control throws at 3 millimeters for the ailerons and elevator was about right. And I found out with the hand launch, you've got to get the hand launch right. If you do it horizontal and of course into the wind, you've got to give it you almost throw it 45 degrees up with as much force as you can, just to give it that catapult type launch to get some airspeed, then you can fly from there. But it flew well. We did some turns, flew around here, very happy. So thank you for tuning in and good luck with your MinimumRC F-86.